Why can't I like Lester the Unlikely? Is that really the question I have to ask myself now? I go away to do one Let's Play and I come back crazy. Help me. I don't think I need to introduce Lester the Unlikely to you. Chances are you're probably part of the 4 million views on the AVGN episode, or maybe you managed to hear about it elsewhere. But somehow, despite all the criticism, I remained interested. Watching those reviews, I could never shake the feeling that those people just didn't understand how the game was meant to be played. Could someone like me pierce the shell?
Developed by Visual Concepts, whose Wikipedia page claims did something developing Sonic Adventure 2,
I don't know.
Lester the Unlikely tells the tale of a nerd named Lester who somehow wanders onto a dock while reading a comic book and somehow falls asleep on a cargo platform, which gets loaded onto the ship. I get that they're going for a nerd that isn't street smart, but that's a pretty fucking stupid setup. And at least not everything is Lester's fault. The ship that he's on is attacked by pirates and sinks, and Lester swims to a nearby island. He needs to find a way back home, and that's our story. So this is what's apparently referred to as a cinematic platformer. You may not know the exact term, I didn't until super recently, but you'd probably recognize examples. Flashback, Oddworld, or Out of This World. They're defined by slow and precise movement, fall damage, limited combat, without a doubt a way different playstyle than your typical Mario. Just for convenience's sake, whenever I'm making a comparison to the genre, I'll be using the original Prince of Persia as my example, because it's the only one I'm really familiar with. If we're being honest, even in the genre, Lester's movement is stiff. I don't have any problems with the moveset. He runs and jumps at good speeds, can hang on ledges, kicks to kill or otherwise immobilize enemies, which works better than you'd imagine. He can pick up items, get a rock in 2 stages to throw as a weapon. It's just control that's kind of unresponsive. It doesn't take long to get used to, but it does bother me that you need to hold up and press jump to jump straight up, and from a standstill you can't jump forward if you press a direction. It takes about 1 square of movement before Lester starts running, and it takes entirely too long to turn around. It's certainly possible to work around the limitations if you know all the timings, but you won't get many opportunities to learn. More on that later. Yes, those are the only control-related complaints I have, because everything else is just trappings of the genre. You can only move in certain distance intervals, you'll need to climb down ledges to avoid taking damage, no mid-air jump control. It may not be to your taste, but it's not fair to claim the game is terrible because of things the whole genre does, when that's just how these games work. But that's not really the reason this game gets criticized. No, the primary point constantly thrown around it is the concept that you're playing as a nerd and how that affects gameplay. See, Lester is a coward. If he encounters a new obstacle, he'll get scared and run away or otherwise make his fear known. It takes control away from the player until the animation ends, and yeah, that's a problem. However, did you notice that I said new obstacle? That's because he only reacts once. He sees a crab, he'll run away, but he'll never react to it again. Because of this, it only happens a handful of times towards the beginning of the game, so it's not a constant problem. Yes, I suppose you can say that's bad design, doing something tedious at the beginning to turn players away, but it's hardly a ongoing issue. Also, his reactions never happen in dangerous situations, so there's never a threat of taking damage because of it. That's what I would classify as Lester the Unlikely's most prominent feature, Lester himself. Tell me, how much can you tell me about the player character's personality in 16-bit games without dialogue to rely on? That just wasn't a feature of the time. You don't know anything about Mario, nothing about Mega Man, nothing about the Prince if we're keeping to the genre. And it's not just him being a loser, you see him grow, get through more dangerous situations, become more confident as the game progresses. It's surprisingly a true example of a story told through gameplay, and because of that, it's actually kind of ahead of its time. Bet you weren't expecting that. Throwing it out there now, I don't consider Lester the Unlikely a bad game. Hell, if anything, I almost consider it a hidden gem if you're into this kind of game. The beginning levels, once you get used to the gimmicks, are actually pretty entertaining with only a few instances of bullshit. First time playing the game, going in with the correct expectations, I got farther than both AVGN and Brain Scratch. The problems, unfortunately, start peeking their head out once you enter the caves. The level design is pretty open with a lot of dead ends, but you never need to jump somewhere you can't see if you pay careful attention, and there's no timer, so it's not too bad. Your problem is going to be the swarms of bats, because rocks are your only weapon, and if you miss, you better hope there's another one nearby. If you can't kill them before they latch onto you, you're guaranteed dead. You can't escape them. The next stage you'll have problems with is the lava fields, but it's not that bad. Just take it slow, don't run, and watch the hands reaching out of the lava. There's a trap at the end where you need to throw 2 skulls into the lava to progress, but if you were paying attention earlier in the stage, you'll know which one not to mess with. Good chance you won't realize that on your first run, but it's pretty obvious in hindsight.
Story of this life.
Lester makes it to a tribal village, meets the chief's daughter, and learns of their plight against the pirates. He volunteers to find the chief himself and promptly gets captured by the other villagers that think he's a pirate. What's interesting here is that it's possible to make it through the village without getting captured if you can stay on the roofs, but getting caught isn't an instant failure. Instead, you get taken to this Metal Gear segment where you need to escape your cell without being seen.
God, that's such a cool set piece for a platformer. Why does the goodwill have to be ruined almost immediately?
See, once you escape, you need to run down the river on this raft. The secret is to stand on one end, duck, and be sure you're facing left so you can avoid the snakes. It's ridiculously precise and really easy to walk off the raft, plus the introduction to the most annoying level gimmick, vines. You need to hit the exact bottom of the vine on your jump or you'll miss, which is really easy to do when you have no time to consider the distance and line up a jump. And the next level is all about these. Do not be surprised how many times you die on one specific part of this one. If you can somehow make it across, you get a real reward. A boomerang. Yes, a permanent weapon. Although you've encountered so few enemies it doesn't seem worth it, but trust me, you'll need it soon, because right through that door is our first boss fight. Bet you weren't expecting bosses in Lester the Unlikely, but yes, this gorilla is one. He's easy, just watch the leaves to make sure he doesn't land on you, but it's a tutorial for the boomerang, so I'm not really disappointed. At some point, the chief's daughter was captured by this gorilla, so we rescued her and we proved our worth to she who formerly criticized us. In the tradition of damsels in distress, she kisses Lester, and his first physical contact with a woman besides his mom gives him confidence. His posture changes and he now looks more like a traditional person. Cool change, and the next level is fucking sweet. You're running from a cheetah, jumping over deadly swamps and swinging on vines that are always placed the right distance to hit. And the cheetah is slowly closing in the whole time, so by the time you reach the end, it's a narrow escape.
I'm not the only one that finds that awesome, right?
Unfortunately, that's where my praises mostly end, as you enter the caves once more. But first pick up a torch. Which color? Well, were you paying attention earlier? First off is running around a giant maze. Nothing can kill you, just press switches on the floor to open doors somewhere else, and it's a long-ass game of back and forth. God help you if you miss a switch. Then, don't hit the switches, though I think it's unavoidable, and run from the crushing ceiling. You better know exactly what the path out is. There's not much leniency. Somehow, if you survived all that and spiders you can't kill, you come to the next boss.
The only thing we have to fear is gigantic, man-eating spiders!
It's basically the same as the gorilla, except horrible. It drops down right on top of you instead of in fixed locations, comes down fast without a visual cue, and goes back up just as quickly. So you can't be facing the spider when it comes down, and given how long it takes to turn around, it's practically impossible to hit the damn thing. And it gets faster with every hit, to the point I really don't know how you could hit it. That's as far as I could make it. I get farther every time I play, but on playthrough 5 or something, this was the best I could do. It's not a long game, but you only get 3 lives and 3 continues with no way to get more of either. Now, think about all the times I talked about difficult sections and instant death. That shit whittles you down, slowly chipping away at your resources until you're inevitably drained. You learn the tricks to get through over multiple playthroughs, and you can definitely get good at the game, but you're gonna have to start all over every time thanks to things you couldn't see coming and mechanics that just don't work. I wanted to get good enough at this game to finish it for a review, but after so many attempts, bouts of progression only to be sent back to start each time, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep playing the first levels, waste progressively more and more time just to get another shot at the stuff I lost to. I know that was pretty common in the olden days, doesn't mean it's not crap design. There's something kind of funny about critics not understanding how this game is meant to be played when, by the end, I think the game developers were having the same problem. Nothing will ever fix those shortcomings, but if the game had infinite continues, it'd at least be reasonable to beat it. I swear, even going into this game with its reputation in mind, I wanted to like it. It's clear that there was a vision for this game, some good ideas, and a lot of at least competent design. But it's ruined by a few bad levels and misguided design guaranteed to hurt and kill you enough to make you get a game over. It's better than the time limit from Prince of Persia, I guess, but it's still just arbitrarily preventing you from beating the game.
I really mean it. I wanted to come out here and tell you that Lester the Unlikely was good. Hell, I still don't think it's bad. It's just in a niche genre with an audience-alienating premise and not very well designed. It's a perfect recipe to ensure it'll never get fans, but certainly enemies. Lester faded away, but don't lose hope. Bubsy's still around after all, so there's precedence of worse games getting revived. I'm anxiously awaiting his second chance with Lester the Unlikely 6 on the PS4.